I'm just standing in today, so if we can stand, please. And before I start the Hesi, I just want to point out that the next rule that they would like us to pay attention to for the next 2 weeks is Manchu. And it's her dad. My dad. And Manchu represents the vitality that allows you to conquer and defeat all obstacles. And I don't know about y'all, but Mercury in retrograde has been very interesting this go round. Oh, yeah. So with the energy of Manchu and conquering and things like that, I would like us to use our energy from our toenails to the top of our head out to the end of your hair. And chant along with me, Ankh in Ma'at, Winani S, which translates as I live in harmony and I exist in it. Y'all ready? Two. Can we be loud enough to?
We can be loud, Mama.
We got it. All right, y'all. Ankh in Ma'at, Winani S, Ankh in Ma'at, Winani S, Ankh in Ma'at, Winani S, Ankh in Ma'at, Winani S. Okay, my heart. Okay, now I need to watch it. All right, so a couple of announcements. That's what this means. All right, so the first one is that IAF is coming. It's going to be here soon. It's this Thursday to next Sunday, the 4th to the 7th. Okay. When Armin Collier comes up to tell his joys and concerns, he
International African Arts Festival.
Right. We have this year booths 73 and 74 out on the field. Hemet will be doing readings, except for Saturday, she'll be leaving early, otherwise she'll be there every day. It's $30 for 30 minutes, 60 for 60, etc. Sonic Cat will be there. He'll be selling his Kemetic apparel, boosters, his flashcards. Ma'akara will have her natural organic soaps. Abud's going to be doing hairstyling, and you're going to have your natural beauty products as well as your herbal jewelry. So come out, hang out, talk, chat, buy stuff. Next we have, Rep with Pet. That is Thursday the 25th to Sunday the 28th. There are still some spaces for camping, so if you want to camp outside, please speak to Hemet. You will have to bring a sleeping bag and a tent, but you are allowed to use the inside facilities for your personal hygiene. If you need carpooling or something like that, please either speak to Hemet or email her to make arrangements to get up there. And finally, save the date. On August the 11th, we will be having a temple cookout. No other details yet,
really?
we're just on the 11th of August.
Simple
Please put it in your
out.
calendar, we're gonna get together and have some.
Get it in.
And apparently we can get in.
Get it in.
I'm not gonna say that again. So I'm gonna sit down, if anyone else has any joys, concerns, messages, or miracles, please.
Cheers.
About to do some launching.
Right?
I'll give my eye.
I will
do
Awesome.
Awesome.
Beautiful.
Today is Zachary's mom's celebration of life, and I wanted to send energy to her because while she was around us, she was strong and
Yes,
but
yes.
she's around family that don't understand
Allah.
what's going on, little ones. So, and she feels everything. So I wanted to have everyone just send off to me.
Yes.
Yes.
Guys, gonna breathe in, visualize green, light energy going to her. She's gonna actually send that energy to Yasek Ray. So we're gonna breathe in, we're gonna exhale out. Breathe in.
Welcome on.
Nonsense.
All right, so those who don't know, I am your scribe, so check it out.
True.
So I was just reflecting on some past conversation I had with some of my colleagues in the Shamsu Haru research team. So that consists of Sari Motep, Mujal, Ma'at, and myself. And, we was talking about science and spirituality and how, sometimes there's a conflict, there's some definitions, et cetera, and, we were talking about when him and I was in the library in Philadelphia doing some research, for the book. And he was talking about how, he's looking up definitions, community, things like that. He just happened to come across the book. He went to one of the library sections and just, boom, saw a book, and then he opened it and randomly opened up a page, and the answer he was looking for was right there. All right. And then, so we were joking, it's like, now that's spirituality. He was like, yeah. So, unlike what may seem like, okay, we're against spirituality. Oh, no, not at all. Because spirituality is your inspiration. Everyone has heard of Einstein, right? The theory of relativity. You know how he started that? On a hunch. Most scientific discoveries are on a hunch. Sometimes a person will dream and wake up like, they see something in the dream. And then they go about the research. That's where the science part comes in. See, a lot of times, we do spirituality, but it's, I'll say this, intuition. Let's just do this, intuition. But sometimes we think that's the end of it. Oh, all I need is intuition. And this is where most of the mistakes come in. No, you have to test it. See, there's something in the universe. Everything that happens in the universe leaves a mark. Everything, no matter what it is, no matter how big or small. And you know what that mark is? Evidence. See? So this is how, I kind of combine the spirituality with science. See? Everything leaves its mark. All you need to do is find the steps and the algorithms and the method of finding those evidences. Because that's the law of the universe. Everything leaves its mark. Whether it's in your facial expressions, if you tell the truth or lie or whatever, you just have to know how to read it. See? So learning how to read it, and you need repeatable results. Meaning, if you tell me something, you found it this way, I need to be able to copy your method and get the same results over and over and over. And I need to be able to change some of the variables to see if I keep getting the same results over and over and over. That is science, see? So, you know, we can go to our records in the mathematical papers of Amesu, the mathematician. And the title of this work is The Correct Method for Knowing All That Exists, All Things Hidden, and All Mysteries. That's the title. And you know what kind of book it is? A mathematical. So, see how all that is combined? The correct method, meaning you need steps on how to find things that are hidden, the hidden truth of things. And I need to be able to get repeatable results. You know, it can't just be, oh, I found it this way, or, okay, Spirit can talk to you. Yes, it speaks to all of us. But when it comes to external things, and I need to repeat the results, this is where you need your science. You know, be it psychology or whatever. You know, and that's very important because the ancestors combine these things. You know what I'm saying? So use that as inspiration for yourself and improve yourself. And now it's funny because this energy of Mantu, you know, is about for the next 2 weeks. And we're all going through challenges. I'm going through my challenges where, you know, I have to make sure that, you know, my household, you know, is great. Make sure nothing can come in and disrupt our happiness, right? I have to make sure that my children are in order, you know. So the myth that Black men don't love their children is wrong, see? So in my own challenges, I have to pull up, you know, more strength so that I can be strong for my family. So I happened to come across this poem, and I think it's right for the energy. Is this: to dream the impossible dream, to fight the unbeatable foe, to bear with unbearable sorrow, to run where the brave dare not, to right the unrightable wrong, to love pure and chase afar, to try when your arms are too weary, to reach the unreachable star. This is my quest, to follow the star. No matter how hopeless, no matter how far, to fight for the right without question or pause, to be willing to pass into hell for a heavenly cause. And the world will be better for this. That one man, scorned and covered in scars, still strove with his last ounce of courage to reach the unreachable star. This is my quest, to follow the star. No matter how hopeless, no matter how far, to fight for the right without question or pause, to dream the impossible dream. And I was so happy to come across this, and I was just cleaning up. And that's spirit. So use it to inspire you to do great things. And never, ever give up.
Good. Lieutenant.
I give praise to Algebra. Oh yeah, I was here last Saturday. You know the rest of that. Woo. Last weekend was just so amazing. You know, man, we did what we needed to do. Ladies, y'all did what y'all needed to do too. So that was just like the whole day. You know, the band was there. And that was just like an exciting day, like, you know, for rehearsing for that joint. That was a whole nother beast in itself, and I was glad. I was glad that it was over because, you know, the brothers, they put it on me. They was like, nah, you gotta do it this way. Nah, you gotta, I'm like, okay. But I'm glad that it came out. I'm glad it came out the way it did. A lot of people gave me props on my performance, which as a poet helps, you know, boost my confidence. I didn't think I did too well, but after seeing the video, I was like, I know why y'all gave me my props. I was like, yeah, do I return? So last week, Nasik was talking about people being okay with like being a 5 or being below a 10. And for the first couple of years coming to Kemmunion, that's who I was. Like, I was comfortable being a 5. I was comfortable not achieving my best or being my best or looking my best. And I was going through a situation being comfortable being a 5. So I'm part of the Haru I told the Haru group, and they written me a brand new one. Because at the time, I didn't realize that they was getting at me because I was okay with being I'm like, because I was mad at them, I'm like, yo, what y'all talking about? But, I realized that, no, you can't be a 5. Like, I mean, when you start coming in, but it's like, no, you can't continue to be okay with being a 5. You gotta be like, yeah, you gotta be a 9 or a 10 out of 10 or a 9 out of 10. Okay, the son said it way better than how I'm trying to explain it now, but it's like you can't be okay with being your lower self. You gotta strive to be your higher self. You gotta make the attempt, You don't make the attempt, you're gonna lower your energy and a whole bunch of other bad stuff can happen. So, I will not know, I'm not no longer being okay with being a 5. Like if I'm now it's like if I'm like at a 7, I'm like, okay, what I gotta do to be 8, 9, and 10. So another thing that I've been working, okay, one, y'all probably not believe this, but I'm very shy. I'm very, especially when it comes to women, that's the main reason why I'm still single. But I'm working towards that stuff because there's a woman that I'm interested in. And I told her, I flat out said, yo, I'm feeling you, what's going on? I'm really happy about it. I didn't get a day out of it, but the fact that I made that first step,
Right.
it's like, you know what? So now we're going I'm interested in you, and I know you don't got a man.
Right.
I'm gonna be like, look, I'm interested in you. Let's see what happens. But if you have a man, I'm gonna be like, all right, you got a man, we'll back off because I still respect the relationship and marriage and all that. Okay. With all that being said, like I said, I'm a poet. I got a bunch of shows coming up. I'm going on an open mic tour. So I'll be performing all next week, all 5 days. So if you wanna know about all of that, come see me after. And that's it. Pass on the mic.
Just wanted to get a little energy. My pops this morning isn't doing too well. He was unresponsive, and they were able to, resuscitate him. They're running tests. They don't know exactly what it is. When I leave him, go to the hospital, but just wanted to see if I could get some energy.
Have your hands out in the lap posture. Visualize green light going into Wab mental rod. We're gonna breathe in, we're gonna exhale out on together. So breathe in, exhale out.
Also just wanted to say that, just so everyone knows, that when you send energy like that, it's not an empty gesture. Like, there's an energy that goes toward the parties. My parents have been going through a lot lately physically, and two communities ago, my mom had to get rushed to the hospital, and I was at the hospital. This time, Cornelia came right now. She's at the hospital, and I came. But while I was there was a moment where my mom just took like a turn for the better. Like she just took a shift, just unexpectedly. Like she was doing bad. Then she took a shift for the better. And then once after Kemmunion came to the hospital and said that she had asked everyone to send energy. And I do believe that in that moment, that gave her like some extra strength and energy to lift up. So I just want to know, like, when you sit in that, with all the intent, because it is effective.
Okay, my eye, everyone. I just want to say that I was very, very, very happy and pleased last Sunday for the production, the energy, all the people that came out, the brothers and sisters that supported. And particularly, I wanted to give Mensura and Shemset some energy. They were producers of the presentations we did, and I know that it's a lot of work and it's a lot of energy and it's a lot of imagination, and you all pulled through it. And we did our thing last Sunday, and the energy, I'm still riding on that energy. All week I've been riding on Rob's energy and just shining and glowing and, you know, interacting with people and impressing that energy upon them. Come on up, you know? So I just wanted to say that to you all, and we appreciate you. Both, y'all both, I call y'all quiet storm. Just so you know, at the International Arts Festival, I will have all of the products for the Beauty Oracle. I'll have the toothpaste, I'll have the body oil, the hair oil, as well as the scrub. And I will be doing, I will be doing hair if you want to come out and support that. All you have to do is have your hair shampooed, and then I will do it and try. Okay?
Is that still on?
I don't think it's. I turned it off.
Mic check.
Okay, everyone.
I
just want to welcome you all. I do see some unfamiliar faces to me, so welcome. For those of you who have not met before, we're happy to have you here. And hello to all of my Temple family. So happy to be here with you all. I just wanted to briefly just share some words of encouragement with you, and then invite you to come to the back to our welcome table. We will have some refreshments for you. We'd love to just be able to speak with you, greet you, talk with you, hear about how you enjoyed the service today, and just connect with you. So that's really the point and the beauty of the welcome table, is to make you feel welcome, is to give you an opportunity to speak with us, know that we're approachable. All of us are very talkative for the most part, so we will enjoy your presence. And then also, we do accept donations for the refreshments. Some of those donations help to replenish the refreshments, and the rest help to go towards the Weapon Prep Scholarship for those who are wanting to join us at the retreat and need some financial assistance. So we truly appreciate every time that you bless us with your donations. And the word of encouragement that I wanted to share with you, as many of you know, I'm a life coach. I work with parents. I specialize in parenting and relationship coaching, but I also do a myriad of other things, including vegan wellness, and I also teach CPR classes. But recently, I've been working with a client who has taken advantage of like more than one of my services. Like I've been seeing her and her family consistently, and I'm noticing that there's a lot of dis-ease in children that comes from their parents, and that a lot of the parents' dis-ease comes from their own social circles. So a lot of times, if the parent is hearing a lot of criticism from their friends, from their family, if they're taking in a lot of negative information, they will then go home and use that skewed viewpoint and look at their family and start to find problems and errors in their loved ones, and it can become very toxic. And what I notice is there's not enough people encouraging one another. You know, we all seem to have the ability to critique and tell people what they need to do to fix their lives and like how they should be doing better, but we're not doing enough encouraging and acknowledging when people do make shifts, supporting people who are going through transition. I personally participated in a phone call with her and her mother, who had called Child Protective Services on her because she decided to change her diet and her family's diet to a plant-based diet.
I've heard
And
that
it was
before.
very painful. You know, I could almost not, I'm getting choked up. I could almost not even imagine it. Somewhat happened to me. My mom was very concerned, but she saw the results, and so she didn't like call Child Protective Services on me. But to have your own mother see your lifestyle change for the better, but to interpret it as this negative thing for her to have so much fear, It's because we're not encouraging each other enough. We're not acknowledging when somebody's having a salad, right? We're so quick to make a joke about them eating a salad, or somebody's having quinoa, we'll poke fun at them, but we don't know what that person is going through, how much it took for them to bring that instead of the toxic foods that they've been, you hear me? The toxic foods that they had normally been eating. So I just want to encourage you all, if you know somebody who is making a change, whether it is their eating habits, whether it's, that they're saying they're committing to doing the gym, whatever it might be, really encourage them. Maybe pull back from the jokes and the sarcasm. And in the beginning, when people are first starting those kind of transitions, it's the encouragement that helps. Send them a recipe that you really like that's plant-based. Invite them to come and work out with you, or send them a workout video. Send them an encouragement video. I recently listened with my partner to it was like a compilation video of a bunch of different, life coaches who are really positive, but their energy is very strong, right? They're the ones that kind of bark you out of your bed, really get you energized, really get you to, get out there and live your dreams. Sometimes people need a little bit more energy, a little bit more vigor, but don't give up on them, and don't, push them away or make them feel uncomfortable. If you have somebody come into your house that's vegan or plant-based or vegetarian or pescatarian or gluten-free, whatever it is, take the time to make something for them, to show them that you support them. Maybe you don't understand entirely, and that's okay. It's okay. Maybe they don't understand entirely, and they're still just doing their research, but your support is so critical, because that moment when they get to see the support you're giving them can be what pushes them into their week, right? And to help them really make those changes. We have a lot of family members who are dealing with illness and disease, and a lot of that is energetic, but a lot of that is lifestyle. It's what they eat. We see somebody eating something they shouldn't be, and we just, there they go again, and drinking that soda. Take the soda out of their hand and give them something alternative, right? If they love you, they care about you, they know you care about them. Just be like, I noticed that you have that soda, and I brought you this coconut water. I want you to try this. Here's some flavors, for that. Here's a lime, lavender lemonade. Let's get into that. Whatever it is that you can do to not only just take away and to try and discourage them from eating those things, but replace it with something better. Because if you tell somebody not to smoke, but you don't give them an option to replace why they were smoking in the first place, it's going to force them to go back to that craving and to drop into that lower self. So I hope that helps someone and really encourages you. And if you are that person who is making a lifestyle change, whether it be food, holistically, diet, family, parenting, relationships, feel free to see me at the welcome table. I'd love to be able to encourage you on your things. All right.
Wow. Thank you.
All right.
Good for you.
I'll give my
Okay.
I am Shemset Ra.
Hey!
I just want to say that one of the concepts between the sisters' offerings, and one of the ideas behind it, is that knowing that we are part of different clan groups and families, we each have our unique family strengths. One thing when I received my rent and inherited my brothers is that we sat down at dinner and we decided what our clan meant to us. We determined what our code would be and how we would address one another if one of us fell short. So we had a list of standards that we implemented for our own clan family. And one of them, not all of them I'll share, but a couple of them is that we have to check in with each other at least once a week. Even if it's good, something like that, but we have to check in. And we have to commit to checking one another and addressing one another when any of us fall short, so that we can continue to lift each other up and support one another and know that we're there for one another. And to keep our family business our family business. And since we made that oath to one another as a family, I feel that we have done that. And I feel that, when any of my brothers, even the one that's not here, goes through something, we don't give each other space like, well, that's their business and I'm gonna give them space. We now take it as, well, that's my business and what we gonna do. And that's how the Artie Nefer clan, how we work and how we roll. And being that I wanted to touch on clan families, that I wanted other clan families to also have that relationship with one another as well, so that you know what your clan name really means to not yourself individually, but as your sisters, what that means to your family, and how to have that same method of keeping us as a family with our own clan groups. And part of that whole experience is while we worked together, we were able to learn a lot of things from our other sisters that we did not know prior. And we also got to learn a lot about ourselves as far as, what is that sister's tipping point or what is my tipping point. It was a learning experience, and that was a whole goal for us to know what our clan meant to us, but to know what our clan or sisterhood meant to us, because you all mean a lot to me. And you mean a lot to me more now that I know you and have worked with you. And I just wanted you all to know that. And as people watched us on Facebook, although we stood there as individual clan groups, as they watched the videos on Facebook like I did, all they saw was one family and one unit. And that was the point. We are one family and one unit. And we're solid, so that when Isfet decides to creep up in our lives or in our temple, there is this shield that we now have because we stand strong and we stand firm. Part of that learning experience of learning about other people, learning about yourselves, I hope that a lesson that we all got out of our experience is developing more affirmations for ourselves. So now I can say, yes, I'm a warrior. Now my affirmation is, yes, I'm a drummer. Another affirmation is, I can sing or I can dance. We discovered a lot of strengths about ourselves that came out of working together also. So I just want to thank everybody for allowing me to step out of my quiet shell and have more of a leadership role, because now I can say I am a leader. You want
But tell cool melody, come out, ooh. I'll never forget how much it is to be in your countenance this here room. I have to give it to y'all like that. Came up. You touched on something, Harmony, that I wanted to add on in terms of support. Actually, I've been communicating with Brother Naeem, who's behind the wall, ever since we set up our TEPREC project. And over the last few weeks, I haven't been able to connect with him. I've been extremely busy. The kiosk has been broken. But I just want to share with you some of the words that he shared with me and encourage us to remember the brother and also support him in his journey. But this is what he had, part of what he had to share. He said, "I my aunt, how's life been treating you? Hope you're in good health and spirit. As for myself, I've been great, keeping my spirits high and continuing to connect with the netters. I had my people send me the perk in the roof. I'm not 100% sure what's in store for me once I come home, but I know it's going to be big. I'm so excited, but at the same time, this learning process has been a blessing in disguise. Don't get me wrong, I give up a toe to come home today. But I also believe I would not get this kind of spiritual growth without these circumstances. In here, I have nothing but time, and I'm using it to my advantage." He said, a lot of the stuff I'm understanding the perk and the rules teaching me from a different perspective, which is giving me clearer understanding. So, it's just encouraging, and he's working on a book.
Another book.
Another book. And he sent me, I guess, a part of the manuscript. It's about 26 pages. I didn't get time to just sit down and read it. I told him I want to have the space to read it all in one sitting so that I can give him clear feedback. I believe he's going to send some stuff to Hamnetta as well. So I just wanted to bring those words and let y'all know he's in a high spirit and keeping his vibration high. And out here we can do the same. Dua.
Dua for that.
Is there anything he needs, as he mentioned, the support, just getting some support from the temple?
I could ask him, but I think
Let me know as well too.
set up a care package.
Yeah.
Press, what did you have? Were you happy with that? Naeem, yeah, I mean, you're taking a collection for this concept.
I mean, we did something like that. That's a lot of fun. So, outstanding game.
He did say that, money, like just $25, like I sent him that, and I was thinking it wasn't enough, but he said that goes a long way. And basically just communication, because, I heard from him last week actually, and, he's just like, Rock. Have a photo.
I'm trying to figure out.
What was that, a beetle? Oh, wow, that's awesome.
I send Naeem short emails periodically, and I did get a part of the manuscript, but I haven't been able. It's like my head was blown trying to read it. He said just to go ahead and read it and study it, and it'll seep in. And that's true because but it's helped with other things too, like my book reading. I've been trying to get better with that. And it's actually helped me to understand a lot more just by reading what he sent me. But as far as with his needs, I think that basically what he was saying is that it's communication with all of us. He told me to tell you guys, and I didn't do that, that he loves you and he misses you. And he had a poem, but my phone is dying, so I can't read it to you. But yeah, he's in this, and we do keep up with him. So.
Too.
How do we send them books or anything?
He said that books have to be sent through another carrier. I haven't figured that out yet.
I have the information, so you can see me out. I want to send something personal to it.
And money I send to him from my phone.
Are you taking a collection?
I wasn't. No.
No, it was just a claim thing, but I'll take the collection of somebody.
Maybe.
Yeah, we did. We did a collection.
Right.
Well, thank you for that, sister. Brother. Uncle Mahat. I have some jewels from the Nile to drop to you. From the elder. Brother Majudi, priest Majudi, warrior priest Majudi, was saying about the brother is that he has a lot of time where he's at to explore and plan and plot out his journey that he's going on. Our question to ourselves should be, how much time do we put into our journey on the outside? Like Malcolm said, we're much in a larger jail than that. But on the outside, how much time do we put into ourselves and what we need to do? We are in the second season of the year, which is at solstice time, for cleansing. And I'm big on cleansing and detoxification. And I'm not just talking about fasting, right? That's one form of it. But I'm talking about deep-seated cleansing what makes up your body. What is your body made up of?
Water.
That's what's in it, but what's the creation? What creates cells? Cells, we gotta clean ourselves. And how do you clean those cells? Is through a full body detoxification. We have to get those herbs and minerals and stuff and perform those detoxes. I stay 4 times a year for the season. And why we have to do it so much in this country is because of what we inhale in the environment, bad foods that we eat, the toxins that we touch and put in our mouths, the chemicals and stuff.
this country, parts of this country, especially up north right here where we're at, is full of chemicals and toxins. So there are many ailments that we receive from these things that we go to the doctor and the doctor can't even figure out what it is. He's doing MRAs and all of this and got you on chemical solutions and have killing you, making you worse than you were coming in. So it's important that we go through a detoxification. You can see Brother Mentu here. We can take you through it, but we have to cleanse those cells. Cleanse that blood. Your blood is your lifeline to your body. It goes through all your organs. Your organs operate based on your blood. And if your blood, like the oil of a car, is dirty, then the organs will cease to function. So that's your lifeline. Look, blood cannot be reproduced. It cannot be manufactured. It can only be extracted. When people need blood, they have to get it from another person. They don't make it and give it to you. All right, and that's important. So you got to keep that blood clean, and your body will tend to function well. And that comes from a detoxification. These bodies are temples, temples within the larger temple. Remember the microcosm of the macrocosm. So we have our body temples that we need to work on. And you can tell how we look just by looking in your eyes. The eyes are the windows to the soul. And once you cleanse your body, then you cleanse your mind. Right? You can't have a dirty body with a clean mind. That's why a lot of people are thinking negative thoughts that they will pick up from other places. And they're not able to just appreciate themselves and appreciate life as it is. So it's very important, it's mandatory that we do our detoxification at this time. And we can do our fasting, get back to our fasting on a weekly and monthly basis. But we do our quarterly 3 times, it's 4 times a year, but it's 3 months, quarterly detoxification. To get our body back on track and back in harmony with nature. And we'll be going out to nature at the end of this month. So we definitely have to get ready for that. Matter of fact, he said we supposed to be doing that for how many weeks before weather input? We're supposed to be going through the cleansing process. So many weeks before weather input to get ready for weather input. All right, so let's detox those temples so we can keep this larger temple clean. All right? All right, do our next one.
So we could do that karate kick, right? We could do that karate kick.
Sashed, ma'at, truth is true. Sashed, go forth and live in truth. Sashed, embrace the light of your highest reality. The Subidi Wasan Ku Kefu, warrior, two, priest, two, healer, two, divine reader, two, king, two. Dedek and Ma'at. Speak firmly of truth. Dedek and turn Ma'at. Speak the Netzer's truth. Dedek and Netzeru Ma'at. Speak the Netzeru's truth. Dedek and Nemamentu Ma'at. Speak the ancestors' truth. Jed Nefer. Speak well. Scenario Jordan. Fear nothing. Everybody, please rise and give energy to the Subidi Wasan Ku Kefu. In the test. Whoosh.
Amatu in Panatia.
Amatu in Panatia.
Sawek Suament in Panatia.
Sawek Suament in Panatia.
Aul Dwalma.
Aul Dwalma.
Ketipa Heru.
Ketipa Heru.
The translation is thus.
Give yourself to God daily. Keep yourself for God daily. And make tomorrow be as today.
We give homage to the Creator, who is like our Father, who is like our Mother, who is everything that we can perceive, and everything that we cannot perceive, who is everything, yet is no thing, who comes to us in the form of connected Ra, who is the light of the heavens, light of the middle plains, as well as the light of our lives, who shines the light for us on the path of Ma'ati, which is the path of truth, justice, righteousness, and harmonious balance, who comes to us in the form of the light of vitality, giving us the strength and the endurance to live and act upon that which we know to be true. Homage to you, the one who shines in and through us as a beacon of light for those who are blind to the fact of their place, their position, and their responsibilities in the divine scheme of things. May we be Ma'akiru, true of thought, word, and deed, to our highest reality, and in our moments of crises and the dark nights of the soul, when it appears that everyone and everything else has let us down. So it is, and so shall it be. Amen Ma'at. Ma'akiru. 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 Let's see, go on. Yahweh. I really hope that you all appreciate me as Nasib, but not just as Nasib, my special personification of sexual chocolate. So I'm just going to share a few words because actually while the keys I was doing the communion, but I want to just say, everyone already said it already, but just to congratulate the temple on an exceptional job at the solstice. Give yourself a everybody. So the food was on point, correct? The band was on point, correct? And the offerings and presentations were on point, right? See, sometimes we say that this is a thankless job, but sometimes you do get rewarded. Sometimes you get rewarded in a way that's unquantifiable. And sometimes the reward is the job well done. Would you agree? So we say that Ra is the deity of the temple. Ra is the deity of manifestation of power for us. Ra is the creative force of the universe. Is that correct? So I'm just saying y'all prove at the solstice that y'all are correct to Ra, the children of Ra, children of creativity. Now, in here, we say Kim as an acronym, K-E-M. What does that mean?
Keep energy moving.
That's right, keep energy moving. So now understand that it took a whole season worth of preparation for one day. I'll repeat, it took a whole season's worth of preparation for one day, and that day came and went. That's the essence of success. The essence of success is investment. Investment of your time, your energy, and your resources. That's why that thing was so successful. And all of that guaranteed that the communion or the solstice was successful. So I'll say this, if the streets say, keep that same energy. And you get all cocky and stuff, keep that same energy when I see you. So keep that same energy because everything that we do is important. Once again, everything that we do is important. There's not one thing that's less important than the next. So understand, so if it took a whole season for that one event, then understand it takes 2 weeks for you to prepare to get your mind right to come here to commune. Right? So understand, success comes from planning through cycles till you finally get to your period of manifestation. I think sometimes we forget that. So now one thing is less important than the next. According to our ancestors, this tradition, how we practice it, if you go to the Yoruba tradition, how they practice it, the Akan, how they practice it, is the most important thing. How you learn the tradition is the most important thing in a personal sense as well as the social sense. What we're doing is actually keeping everything together in society, in the world at large. So they be talking about pseudo this and pseudo that, but it's the rituals that we're doing, not just us, the Christians, the Muslims, whoever's doing their rituals, they're the ones actually keeping this thing together because this system seems hell-bent on falling apart, right? Don't it seem like things at least get a little bit better, or you have enough energy to endure a little bit better after we do our rituals? You feel stronger, you feel up for it. The rituals and stuff gives you sustenance. At the least, it's going to give you sustenance if it's not magical the way you think it's supposed to be. So most people don't realize that that keeps things together because most people are so distracted with life, and some people are so discouraged by life that they're rarely ever present in the moment. When I'm speaking to some of y'all, I know y'all ain't present in the moment. Some people, their body is in the moment, it's like their hologram, but their mind is with a person or place or thing that's not here. Their mind is on their money or something, and they're never quite present. It's almost like, I don't know, are we allergic to focus? We be resisting it like a month. You're like, okay, let's breathe and focus. And next thing you know, your back is hurting. Can I go to the bathroom? Can I get some water real quick? So like something, you just start rebelling when it's time to just focus. So there's a quote from the Kemmunion that says, when a thought exclusively occupies the mind, it becomes an actual physical state. That's powerful. So you only need one true prayer. Any true prayer, the Creator always answers. So let's go back to that. When a thought exclusively occupies the mind, it becomes the actual physical state. So if you haven't received what you want, that means what you want has not exclusively occupied your mind. Simple as that. So we have to ask, what's exclusively occupying your mind? All the stuff that you don't want. So what your mate ain't doing for you, the money you ain't making. So that actually becomes the actual physical state. That's why our culture imposes itself upon us. Some people, when they get into the culture, they be like, I'm busy, why I gotta keep doing all this stuff? Our culture has to impose itself on us. That's why we have 4 prayer times a day. That means every several hours you have to detach yourself from whatever that is that you're doing and realign yourself with something divine. Because the mind is inclined to be selfish. The mind is inclined to go towards fear. The mind is inclined to go towards desperation. So these other things that we have to disconnect and align it to, it has to align back to joy. It has to align back to peace, and it has to align back to power. So if those are not your natural state, you got some issues. You need to continue to respect and submit to the tradition, and that's what we're fighting. The tradition is just helping us focus, right? So with that being said, everything that we do is mandatory. So get that in your head. Everything we do is mandatory. No one thing is more or less important. Everything that we teach in here, everything from the meditation at 11, that's supposed to be 11 o'clock, from coming in at 12 to do du'a'u, to come to honor the ancestors, to the libation, to the hesi, all of it is mandatory. So you have to all check yourself, whether you're initiate or not. You came this far to get serious. You didn't come sign up for the team that not play. Y'all might need to go back to the church. Because they tolerate weak people on the team. Kemmunion has always been the top team. So we'll pass the mic to Keith. So everything we could set it up for success. She on my team. And if she wasn't on my team, I wouldn't let her hold the mic. She's on the winning team. So everything is mandatory and everything is to be executed with excellence. Because when a lot of times when people hear that word mandatory, they think it's duty, like, you know, there'll be times I don't feel like it. Yeah, you can do it anyway. You can do it with excellence. Because you can show up. A lot of times people do everything on the surface, but their mind ain't right. Their attitude is not right. So understand goes back to the focus. So if you don't know how to focus, then you don't know how to pay attention to detail. If you don't know how to pay attention to detail, then you're going to miss opportunities. What do they call problems? Problems are what? Opportunities in the sky. So if you don't know how to pay attention to details, then you won't see your opportunities. So if you fail in your opportunities, the failure to get your opportunities manifests as anxiety. Anxiety results in lack of confidence. Lack of confidence results in empty ritual. Empty ritual results in the least probability of success. Just broke it down, right? So now understand the importance of focusing your mind and being where you're supposed to be in the right state of mind. So 3 months for preparation of 1 day, 2 weeks for preparation for communion. So you can show up, but if your mind is not right, then you won't be able to receive what it is that you're showing up to get in the first place. You know? So I'm about to pass the mic to Kisa. Kisa is Wabet Kisa. What she's going to do is her presentation so she can be elevated to her next level. You know, she specializes in astrology. So in ancient times, the bigger temples were known as colleges. There were 4 colleges, 4 main colleges or institutions in Kemet. There was Anu, which is us. There's Het Kapata, which is it's Mennefer, that's known as Memphis. There's Kemmunion, and then there's Waset. Waset was the biggest. Anu was the second biggest, which is our namesake. So priests had college level education. So we have a saying, from the ancient legacy to the living legacy. That's our Bible. So when you're out there, you don't got to discuss the universe in a day with somebody. What's the Kemetic legacy about? You're like, from the ancient legacy to the living legacy. And there's a connection. We're the fulcrum. So we can't do everything that they did back then, but yet they didn't have the experiences that we have to deal with also. So there has to be some adjustments going on. So we're inspired by the example of our ancestors, and we use that inspiration to approach our new challenges. That makes sense? So her as a priestess, so she's going to approach the title, she's going to approach the ideal of, or the philosophy of astrology, which is connected to astronomy. Now understand, so it's like college, there's a thesis, and what's the other thing, thesis and dissertation. So she has to do both, a thesis and a dissertation. So it's not our job to challenge her. So what's more important for teachers when we get up in front of people, your only job, your primary job is just to make life make some sense by uncovering unconscious patterns that we may have, whether that's through divination, whether that's through astrology, astronomy, whether it's through science, whether it's through ritual, or it's just giving a tailor-made message or lesson about what we're going through as a people. We're just saying the same message over and over. We're just peeling back layers and hoping maybe this time some more people will get it. Maybe this time it'll affect you in a way to make you want to do more than you've been doing before. So without further ado, everybody give some energy for all that keeps up.
Can you hear me? The nitrogen in our DNA, the calcium in our teeth, the iron in our blood, the carbon in the apples that we use when we're making apple pie, all of these things were born inside of stars, collapsing stars. We are literally made of star stuff, right? The cosmos exists within us, as us. And we are a way for the universe to experience itself. Carl Sagan said that. So typically, I come up and I share a reading with you. I share some guidance for the next couple of weeks to help us make meaning of what's going on in the stars, to help us guide what's going on in our lives. But I never typically explain why. Today, we're going to actually get a little bit into why and talk a little bit about why it is that we share the reading. What is the essential background that governs why it is we even pay attention to this? Today in particular, we're going to talk about how it is that we can each tune our spiritual GPS.
Okay.
So when I hear people speak about astrology, it's interesting the responses that I observe. So it's a myriad of things. Sometimes it's this sort of, people perceive it as this sort of new age thing that, remember when we used to read newspapers and in the back by the comic sections and there were the horoscopes. So people see it as that and something that's entertaining and funny, but little more than a distraction, maybe a waste of time. There's some people who think that astrology is evil, right? They think that it's, the good Christians think that it's the devil's work and they're against it. There are a few like me who seem to have always had some level of interest for and connection to and affinity to astrology. I can remember from as early as I can remember reading my horoscope and being very curious about what it meant. I remember being mindful and aware of the fact that my mother and my little brother were Scorpios in my house, and my grandmother and I were Geminis, and I thought we were Team Gemini. That meant something to me. And I was curious about what it meant about our relationships. Sidebar, I'm not sure why I was reading it at 8 years old. I probably should have been playing with toys or something, but that's beyond the point. I continued to actually be interested in it. I continued to read and I continued to study more. And when I got to college, I actually dug much, much deeper, right? I passed my first chart. It was incorrect because I didn't know about ephemeris at the time. And I used a chart from Glamour magazine to figure out what my rising sign was. But either way, I was so committed to learning that I continued to read, continued to push, and I continued to be voracious about the topic. And there are even fewer still who devote their entire lives to work to this, right? Like, this is what they do in terms of their living. It's the way that they shape their careers. They write books. They remain deep study of it to the fact that they begin to advance the technology. But the reality is most people are ambivalent, right? And they could really care less one way or the other. Some folks are mildly amused and then entertain the idea. But most don't really see it as a tool to guide their lives, right? Seldom is it seen as a tool of magic, as a gift from nectar, passed down through the ancestors, connecting us with all that has been and all that will be. I personally believe that astrology is a magical technology. And at the Temple of Anu, we believe in astrotheology, right? The interconnectedness between astronomy, which is the study of the cosmos, the study of astrology, which is the study of how the cosmos impacts our lives, and the study of theology, right? The philosophy of God, our particular philosophy of God. And I see my study is also including psychology, right? The study of the unconscious and the conscious mind and how that impacts what it is that we do. And divination, the practice of seeking knowledge of the future, right? Futures unknown. But overall, astrology is just one way for us to make sense out of life by revealing unseen patterns. And so my overarching question to you is, how is it that you're tapping into this tool? How is it that you leverage this tool? In the Kemetic Proverbs on the section of detachment, dispassion, wisdom, and virtue, it says, those who gave you your body furnished it with weakness, but the all who gave you your soul armed you with resolution. Employ it, and you are wise. Be wise, and thou art happy. In another passage, it says, contemplate thy powers. Contemplate thy wants and thy connections, so you shall discover the duties of life and be directed in all thy ways. And finally, one other passage in that section, it says, if you travel on a road made by your own hands, you will arrive at the place where you want to be. Again, if you travel on a road made by your own hands each day, then you will arrive at the place you want to be. So all of these quotes speak of divine order, but also of divine will. They speak of weaknesses and pitfalls that come with having a body, but they also highlight our connection with the divine. In this connection, there is our responsibility for contemplation. Contemplation of who we are and where we're going, and not to travel the road of your life aimlessly, but to shape that road that you actually travel each day. So let's talk about travel. Who here is old enough to remember their mom or grandma having one of those folding maps in the car? Right, one of those folding maps that there was no map quest, there was no Google Maps, there was no ways. You had to pull that joint out, map out your journey, and figure out where you're going. Before you got in that car, God forbid that there's a road closure or something, that you got to pull over and figure out where you're going next, right? But now we're lucky. I wonder how many, like Sora, or I wonder how many kids could actually get home if you put them somewhere with one of those maps and said you need to navigate your way home. But now we know we have Waze and Google Maps. Who uses Waze in here? That's my favorite, right? Why do you like Waze?
Because you're the police act.
That's my number one reason to play the Waze. It tells you the police are coming. What else?
It typically has a shorter route than Google Maps.
Right, it has a shorter route. It's real-time traffic. It has the most efficient route to get to your destination. It tells you when there's construction. It tells you when there's road closures. It lets you know what's going on, right? And I use it every day. I use it even when I know where I'm going, right? I use it when I'm going home from work to home, even though I know how to get home. It's not for that, but I'm thinking if I can have a more efficient way of getting there, if I can have a heads up if there's something in my route and I need to take another direction, I want to know that, right? So why do we think it's essential to consult a map for a quick trip, or even a trip that we know about, like how to get home from work? But we can't see the need for earnest consultation, earnest consideration, earnest contemplation of the most important journey of our lives, right? Your natal chart, your astrological chart is a map of your life. And many of us are traveling blind. Many of our lives we're like on those random moving sidewalks in the airport. We're moving forward on the journey. We're not controlling the speed. We're not controlling the direction. We don't even, in some cases, know the destination. Many of us don't know where we came from, don't have a clear sense of where we're going, and we don't have a map to get there. And when we do get a map, like the kids in those foldable maps, most of us don't even know how to read it. Astrology, your chart is your own personal map. It is your personal GPS. So on your life's journey, how often are you consulting your spiritual GPS? I consult mine daily. I always have a version of mine with me. The thing is, our ancestors, they've always been attuned to the stars. Like other ancient peoples, Kemites used the lunar calendar. Even before Semitic, even before the establishment of dynasties, the civil calendar of 365 days was in place. Like at least as early as 3000 BC, we have evidence of this calendar, right? Before the time of the Old People Kingdom. There were 12 months, 30 days each with 5 days, which were festivals, and the lunar year divided naturally following the seasons, right? There were 4 months, 3 seasons, and those seasons aligned with the first season with the inundation of the Hapi, right, the Nile, 4 seasons of planting and growth, and 4 seasons of harvest. But initially, the seasons of the Kemetic year, that calendar, it wasn't based on astronomical sort of guidance initially. It wasn't based primarily on observable phenomena initially. It was set because it was a way to keep the people in order. How is it that we're going to serve our citizens? We feed our citizens, and we know when we align with the seasons, then it is a way for us to ensure that we can serve our citizens, serve the population well. But at some point, the keeper of hours was important because he observed that if we just go with this 12, 30-day months, it doesn't allow the seasons to line up each year, right? Something is off, something's going on. So every 2 or 3 years, they needed to add a 13th month, right? And they call it an intercalary month, right? In between the calendar. Eventually, though, as a result of the keeper of hours, they used the rising of the star Sirius to regulate that sort of interspersing month, that intercalary month. We know for our people that Sirius was seen in relationship to what goddess? Spadet, right? Sopdet or Sophis, Spadet, right? And so just as Spadet rose, it aligned with the time that the Hapi itself rose, right? And so that signaled inundation for the Nile Valley. So the 12th lunar month, which is the 4th month of that season, was named Wetrin-Peg, right? From the rising of Spadet. Sound familiar? So this was also the key to helping keep calendars and clocks and track of overall astronomy. So as a lunar culture, the observance of the moon was also essential in helping to keep time. We know that in the Kemetic science, they observed the moon. They saw the first quarter moon because they could see that crescent. They saw the full moon. They saw the third quarter moon because they could see the crescent again, right? And through this, they conceived the weeks. We know that in our calendar, we have how many weeks? 4. We have typically 4 weeks, but in the Kemetic calendar, there were 3 weeks aligned to those 3 observable phases of the moon, right? Those 3 weeks were divided into 3 10-day weeks called decans, right? Revolving around each of those phases of the moon. And these 10-day weeks, these decans, they are actually still in use in astrology today. And the way that we look at astrology, when we look at a particular sign, the 12 signs are each broken into 3 decans, 3 10-day periods, right? That is the sort of first decan that reflects the resonance that's still coming from that previous energy, that previous astrological sign. That second decan, which is like the second week of the month in a Kemetic calendar, the resonance being purely and firmly centered in that energy. And that third decan, right, where we have the resonance of the energy that's to come. And in turn, we also pay particular attention to the cycles of the moon in astrology and in manifestation in general, right? Because without even knowing anything about your natal chart, you can never view your chart, and you can use the cycles of the moon to still influence your life. You can use those observable cycles of the moon, what happens at the time, the resonance of the energy at the time, to help you with manifestation of your goals, even if you've never run your chart, even if you have no knowledge of your chart. So let's talk about this. I talk about this every month. Every month, if you notice, I always center on the moon, right? What do we do at the new moon? What do we do at each new moon? We set our own intentions, right? The new moon is first to set our intentions. And then those 3 moon cycles that our ancestors observed, they help us to organize the month. And they represent powerful times within our attempt to manifest those particular intentions. So that first quarter moon is all about building, right? That moon, I tell you to do things like write a list of your goals, write the steps down. How is it gonna look? What's the first step you're gonna take, right? So those are the things that happen in that first quarter moon. You're building. That full moon is about reconciliation, right? So at that full moon, what are the types of things I ask you to do at a full moon? Mm-hmm. Ask you to reflect, release. We're gonna get on that in a second. That full moon, within that cycle of that third quarter is release. That full moon is about reconciliation. This is about you taking responsibility for your actions, right? Did you begin to manifest what you were supposed to do? Did you take those steps? Did you say, were you in Makaru with your with the intentions you set and the actions that you said you would take? Have you been acting with integrity? So that's about taking responsibility for your actions. And that last quarter moon is actually about release. It's about habits and pitfalls, and it's about releasing those habits. It's about releasing those mindsets, releasing those past issues, those negative memories, or whatever it is that's blocking you from realizing your goals and blocking you from realizing your blessings. That happens at that last quarter moon, right? So in the same way, that our ancestors used the observation of the moon to help set order in their day-to-day lives, we can use the observation of these moon cycles to set order in our lives, right? We have 3 weeks in each month, right? We have those 3 weeks in each month. We have those 4 moon phases that we look at, and it's how is it that we are manifesting? How is it that we're taking advantage of the knowledge we have to help us push ourselves? So 3 weeks in a month, if the ancestors organized around 3 main phases of the moon and 3 seasons of the year. We know that first season was inundation, it's called Aket. We know that second season is Peret, right? It's emergence. It's not only the emergence of plants, it's actually the emergence of the land, right? Because the valley is flooded during inundation. So the land begins to emerge, and then Shulu, that third season, is about harvest. These same things are relevant to our actual lives as well, right? How is it that we are inundating ourselves with the energy that we need, with the blessings, with the prayer, with the discipline in order to plant those seeds, right? So that when we can see our goals begin to emerge and then we can begin to harvest them. So these are the same things that follow our own goals. There's also evidence that our ancestors used, they were originators of or followed the 24-hour day with equal hours of 12 hours a day and 12 hours a night. And there's a number of phenomena that we can observe evidence for in history where we see that our ancestors used astronomical registers, right? So in tombs and temples, right? There's evidence on ceilings of a lot of the energies in which we use today. So things like coffin boards, things like temple ceilings, things like water clocks. These are where our ancestors began to document some of the knowledge that we tap into today. And so, for example, we know that Kerheb talked last month about the pyramids, the Merkut, and how the Merkut were aligned with the Hapi, right? Our ancestors built temples and so that their axes could be directly perpendicular to the Hapi, right? And then they were particularly paid attention to cardinal points, both inside and outside of the temples. How are those precision of the angles? How is it related to the heavens? How can we use that to maximize the energy? In particular, there were groups of constellations that were important. So looking at the Big Dipper, looking at big stars, which maintain the same space in the heavens, and using that as a source point of measurement. But they didn't only pay attention to this in life, they paid attention to this in death as well. And so we could see examples in tombs where there were full inscriptions of the ways that our ancestors saw the stars, right? One specific example that I'm going to share is that of Senmut. And he was Queen Hatshepsut's right hand until he got fired and fell out of favor. But from what was completed of his tomb, there's enough in that temple for us to have evidence. We see sketches where there's an astronomical ceiling in one in particular, where the circles representing the 12 months. There's decades that are listed there and the names associated with them and the nets are associated with them. Like there's one column, for example, with Offset and the Mesoguru, and they're related to the actual celestial bodies that are there. And there's still another panel, for example, with Jupiter denoted, one with Saturn denoted, one with a glyph that says, Haru who bounds the 2 lands in his name, right? And so we see evidence of all of these right in the tombs, evidence that our ancestors devoted to acknowledge all the stars and their impact on our lives and their relationship to Neptune. So we know that our ancestors kept hours. We know that they used the studies of stars in the ancient legacy. But what does this actually mean for the living legacy? So last month, we heard Kerheb talk about the Hermetic principles of manifestation. And one of these was the law of correspondence. Who remembers what the law of correspondence is? Besides Kerheb. What's the law of correspondence? What does it tell us?
As above, so below.
As above, yes, it's the as above, so below. So, right, so the Kerheb told us that Merkut were aligned, to the Hapi, that the temples in Rakut were aligned to Orion's belt. The Hapi had correspondences with the Milky Way, and that what you feel on the inside is a direct manifestation of your actual outer reality. So let's take that one step further and investigate that a little bit. Let's understand the use of this technology, and let's talk Simitawi. Right? What does Simitawi mean?
Two lands.
The unification of the two lands. But who all took that test in here? I'm like, if somebody took your my aunts, I think some people might have crammed for those tests. So we know Simitawi relates to the unification of the two lands, right? Right? It's literally the unification of upper and lower, right? The Sut-Biti, the term the Sut-Biti represents, it signifies that unification, right? Masut, right? Sut coming from what?
Sedge plant.
Sedge plant, South Biti, come reflecting the B, exactly. So Sut and B, red and white with the double crown. You see the Sut with the red and white on, instead, and some Jenny trying to, you know. But it represents agriculture and husbandry, right? Upper and lower. But it also represented solar and lunar energies, right? Both were important. But strength came in the balance of the two, right? In the bringing together of those two energies for the creation and the manifestation of the complete energy, right? That stronger energy. And the same is true for you. When you look at yourself, what are the ways in which you're seeking to unite the lower and upper parts of yourself? Like, what actions are you actually taking each day to unite the lower and upper parts of yourself? Have you united both the solar and lunar aspects of yourself, right? Because earlier we spoke a little bit about the importance of the moon to our ancestors, right? And just to astrology in general. But raise your hand if you can actually tell me your moon sign. Right? Not even half the room. Right? And as Kemites, the Sut says, as Kemites, it's our job to be in the know, right? So there's no way that you can integrate parts of yourself if you don't even have knowledge of what those parts are. If you're not even aware of them, how can you do anything to activate them? Let's turn to Lucia on page 67, the book of keyboard. And the first verse. Can somebody read up to the word misfortune? If you have it. Page 67, the first verse.
If a beam is longer than its right measure, the excess is cut off. If the wind blows beyond its right measure, it wrecks the ship. Those who apply the right measure in all good things are not blamed. The God of just measure has created a balance in order to establish right measure on earth. He placed the heart deep in the body for the right measure of its own. Thus, if those who are learned are not balanced, their learning is of little use, and a fool who knows not balance does not escape misfortune.
And a fool who knows not balance does not escape misfortune, right? So clearly our ancestors understood the importance of balance. And this passage illuminates the connection between balance and good fortune. Because often when people lean on divination or astrology or just magic in general, they're doing it for what? They have a desire to shift something, they have a desire to change, transform something, they have a goal or a dream, and they want it moved, they wanted to see it manifest, right? So if they have a dream, a vision they want to manifest, if they have a vision for their lives and they're trying to figure out how to make it happen, one of the most important powers that you have is the power of choice. In each moment, we have the power to choose to reinvent ourselves, right? And that reinvention begins with an actual choice. But choice is of little value without any knowledge to harness, right? If you don't have knowledge, you can't really make those choices. We're magical people, right? thoughts are things, and we're capable of manifesting those things that we actually want. But the truth is that often what's holding us back is us. Sometimes it's our pathologies that hold us back. Sometimes it's our unresolved issues that's holding us back, right? Those issues that are taking up heart space, space that could be used to manifest, to create, right? To magnetize things to you. Because remember, Habaru is not just about love and beauty. Habaru is about creativity, right? And magnetism, right? And actually bringing things to life. So when your heart center is held because of those unresolved issues, the energy you could use to access that is not available to you, right? And sometimes the thing that's holding us back is that we block our own blessings by lack of knowledge. So let's make sure that we have just a basic understanding of why we need to be aware of and seek balance both with our solar and lunar instincts in order to manifest. Most people, when I ask, what's your sign, when somebody asks them, what's your sign, they answer based on their sun sign, right? That's what most people know, right? And it's important because it's an important aspect of your being, but it's only one aspect of your being. Your moon, on the other hand, reflects your instinct, right? It reflects your instinctual response, it reflects that intuition that we were talking about earlier, right? Your overarching approach to how you deal with situations, all of that's reflected in your moon sign. And for those of you with children, often your children, before they come into their own sort of assertive being, that sun sign, that moon sign energy is what you're usually dealing with now. It's that instinct, it's that gut reaction, how they show up in the world to get what it is that they need, right? But that sun sign signifies that father energy, right? It's assertive, it's fiery. That moon sign, that signifies that mother energy. It's receptive, right? It's watery. It's that energy that nurtures, right? And so you have your creative power, that thing that you want to see happen, that your vitality, your sense of purpose, right? And your sun sign controls all of those central goals. But your moon sign, that represents your instinct. It represents your ability to feed and nurture, and not just a person. It represents your ability to feed and nurture your own ideas, to feed and nurture your own goals, right? So if you're not in tune with your instinct and how it is you feed and nurture, then how is it that you're feeding and nurturing those things that you're trying to manifest? Your ascendant also is an important nod to precision, which was important to our ancestors, right? We know our ancestors, they were precise in measurements of temples. We heard and hear quite often when we asked us to do math that we were not the temple builders here in this room quite often. But we know that our ancestors were precise in those measurements, right? They were precise in their calculations. And so why do you think that something as significant as the time you were born, the way the heavens were positioned at the time you were born, the pattern of the sky at the time you were born, why would that matter any less than some other aspect of work in terms of building a temple, right? The brother Sir Shep talked about our bodies as being our temples. Well, your astrological chart is a way for you to actually figure out how it is you're building your temple and how it is that your temple can be maximized, right? When you look at your chart, you look at the sky at the time of your birth, you look at the name that you were given at the time of your birth, all of those things are your unique spiritual footprint, right? That's your unique signature, your unique resonance, your unique energy signature that helps give you special information about how it is that you can manifest and what it is that you can do, right? And so there's always examples of precision in nature, whether we look at how much energy we need for our body to be fueled, or we look at something like a bee, right? The precision of a bee. Most of the food that we eat, particularly when we're eating vegetables, require that sort of pollination, right? And without that, it wouldn't happen. But these things we don't quite often think about, right? A tree grows in North America and New Jersey. We get trees this time of year on our trees, but not in the winter time, right? So all of these things represent divine order, represent precision. And so when we think about our own lives, the same way that the energy of the sun helps to manifest trees and leaves and energy, the same way that bees naturally follow a pattern of pollination, it's the same way that the sun impacts us, the moon impacts us, the stars at the time of our birth impact us to give our specific, at those specific times, the specific gift of our energetic fingerprint, like the specific gift of understanding how at that point in time, we were supposed to manifest in the lessons it is that we're bringing with this life with us in order to learn. So let's actually end with talking about karma and talking a little bit about how it is we can use astrology as a vehicle for our transformation. Let's begin with just a general understanding of karma. What is karma? How would you define karma? Cause and effect, exactly. Reaping what you sow, exactly, right? We know that karma is basically cause and effect. We hear it in so many different ways. That's sort of biblical, you reap what you sow. We know in science that for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction, right? And as we see on page 6 in the Hosea, it says, and thus justice is given to the one who does what is loved, and punishment is given to the one who does what is hated. Thus also is life given to the peaceful and death to the one who violates it. So karma is ultimately about ma'at. If energy can neither be created nor destroyed, then surely the energy that you put out there, the actions you take, the words that you speak, the thoughts that you have, they cause ripples and they reverberate. And those reverberations, they ultimately boomerang back to you, right? That's order. That's balance. That's reciprocity. On page 32 in the Hosea, in the book of Kemmunion, verse 3, the second paragraph, you see an illustration of how ma'at looks in our personal lives. Can someone read that for us?
Page 32.
Second paragraph of the third verse.
The balance.
Mm-hmm.
The balance of the land lies in ma'at, truth, justice, and righteousness. Do not speak falsely, for you are great. Do not act lightly, for you have weight. Be not untrue, for you are the balance. And do not swerve, for you are the standard. You are on the level with the balance. If it tilts, then you will lean too. Do not drift, rather steer.
Okay, you can stop there. So, be not untrue, for you are the balance, right? You are the standard. You are on level with the balance, and if it tilts, you will lean too. Do not drift, but steer. So the passage is not only reminding us of why ma'at is important, but it's specifically pushing us to examine our own responsibility in things. See, some of us consistently perceive that life is happening to us. We get caught in this karmic loop where we make a decision at one point in time, we make some sort of choice, and that choice has a consequence. And that consequence comes back to us. And when that consequence, when whatever the resonance of that energy comes back to us, we don't respond with manab, no. We actually are triggered. We have a reaction to that energy that came back to us. We react in some way again, now sending it out again, causing another vibration, right, to come back to us. And we get caught in this karmic loop. That perception is victim consciousness, right? For those operating in sort of a sense of victim consciousness, they see life as constantly happening to them. And so when something happens, their questions are why questions. Why did this have to happen to me? Why don't they respect me? Why are my kids failing? Why won't my business take off, right? They look for answers and they look to assign blame and responsibility elsewhere. But that victim consciousness is a choice. And it's a barrier to transformation. It's a barrier to manifestation. It's a barrier to elevation. And so when we take a step back and try to move more towards transformation, it requires radical responsibility, right? Radical responsibility is choosing to take responsibility for everything that's occurring in our lives. It's letting go of blaming people. And that includes blaming ourselves, blaming other people, blaming circumstances. And it requires us to be radically curious, not defensive, not being right, not being stuck on having sort of control of the situation. So instead of why me, it requires us to shift and ask, like, why is this happening to me? No. What can I learn from this? How am I creating this and keeping this in my life? How am I keeping this pattern going? So the key to dealing with karma is surrender, letting go of the illusion of control, wanting to be in control of people and things and circumstances. That's radical responsibility. That's radical curiosity. That's surrender, right? And they require maturity. That requires responsibility. That requires discipline. And in looking at that, Saturn is this planet of karma. Saturn is the planet of responsibility. Saturn is the planet of discipline. And many of us, when we're looking at our charts, we get all excited about astrology once we start learning about it. We want to know about who we're compatible with. We want to know about our Venus, a little bit about our Mars, if you get that deep, but we want to know our moon sign and horizon. We rarely look at Saturn. And that Saturn energy is the energy that helps you to understand how it is that you can be disciplined enough to stop the patterns that are going on in your life. It helps you to understand what are those patterns, right? What are the rules that you may have been in violation of? You have personal planets, like the Venus and the Mercury, your sun and your moon, but you also have social planets. Jupiter, which is the planet of expansion, is the planet of optimism. But Saturn is the planet of contraction. It's that planet of boundaries and discipline. And in order to break karmic cycles, we actually need to understand the structure. We need to have the patience. We need the hard work. We need the discipline necessary to help manifest those dreams. Your nodes are also equally as important to help you chart your course and to understand your karma. The moon's nodes help you to understand the past and the future. Does anybody in here know the north node? Okay, so this is really important information. I would say for you, just like you know your sun and your rising and your moon, you should know your north node. The moon's axis, those nodes give you information. Your south node talks to you about your karma. Those are the gifts you bring to this life, right? Those are the propensities you have. Those are things that come naturally to you. Those might be resources that you can tap into for your elevation. But your north node represents the lessons you're meant to learn in this lifetime, right? That's the way that you're supposed to grow in this incarnation. It represents part of your life's journey and why you're here, right? It's reflective of your particular energetic fingerprint, right? And so the cycles with your north node are cycles of challenge, cycles of reevaluation, then release and forward movement, right? Those are the cycles. But when we're stuck in a karmic loop, that cycle never moves forward. We get stuck in challenge, resistance, repeat. Challenge, resistance, repeat. Challenge, resistance, repeat. And then we wonder why things aren't changing in our lives. For anyone feeling stuck, for anyone feeling like you're not moving forward in areas of your life where you set goals, where you have put energy forth, I urge you to do some work with your Saturn, examine your Saturn. I urge you to look at your north node and your nodal axis and learn about that, because that can help you make some strategic, different choices in your life that might lead you on a different path. And so I'm going to end with a quote from a passage a book that I love that you guys probably have seen it before in here. It's called A Little Fish Story, and it's from the Book of Awakening. It says, the instant fish accept that they will never grow arms, they grow fins. The instant a fish accepts that it will never grow arms, they grow fins. This little quote holds another key to faith, that before we can be what we're meant to be, we must accept what we're not. This form of discernment asks us to let go of those fantasies, those ideas that take us out of our nature, right? So those things that push us to want to be famous instead of wanting to be loving. That push us to want to be perfect instead of wanting to be compassionate. Yet, the instance that we accept what is not in our nature, rather than being distracted by all of those things that we want, all of those things that we think we should have, those things that we could have, those things that might not be in alignment with resonance with what you're meant to have right now. They may not be in alignment with what your karma is telling you that you deserve right now. As soon as we're able to move in acceptance, we're freed up and growth awaits us. It is in this surrender, without knowing what will happen next, that allows our lives to truly unfold. Again, this is not, and I don't want anyone to take this as a deficit perspective, me telling people not to go for your dreams, to let go of your dreams. The truth is that I just love you enough to push you to breathe life into your actual reality than to sit in contemplation of dreams. And the thing is that you don't actually have to walk through this life blindly. As Kemites, we have instruments, we have tools to help us understand our lives, our roadmaps, possible pitfalls, possible tendencies, and to be able to make different choices. We have tools to serve as our spiritual DNA. Remember, you're made of star stuff, right? It's in the nitrogen in your DNA, it's in the calcium in your teeth, it's in the iron in your blood. We are the same as the cosmos, as above, so below, as within, so without. If nectar exists within us as us, then we have everything that we need to manifest our highest reality. It's about us making a choice to actually learn, making a choice to study, making a choice to know, making a choice to listen, making a choice to surrender when need be, to integrate those aspects of ourselves that we may not even fully understand yet, and making the choice to move forward in that power. Because ultimately, by revealing the unseen patterns of our lives, ultimately by paying attention to those patterns, it will allow us to move forward and manifest our highest realities. Get down, y'all. Let's all say we're going in peace and satisfaction. Shemim. Sisters, left over right, brothers, right over left. Dienu on Kusha Sunab.
Dienu on Kusha Sunab.
Open up, give energy. All right, let's bring it to your heart center. Pick it down your body on the count of 3. Wah, smooth,
But it worked out well because how did everything go on my
I am in your, I think I'm in your perspective. So I think it's not, because I'm We're probably only gonna use 1 or 2 baskets, depending on what we get. Very much. So this is the ad.